Am I the asshole for not agreeing with rules put in place in my house? Typing on my phone and first Reddit post, so might be a little messy. I, 18 female, had turned 18 in July. I knew that would come with paying keep because my mother, 37 female, and stepdad, 37 male, had told me so months before. I was told I'd pay £125 a month and do my own washing and make my food, etc. I was fine with that, made enough sense. I didn't have a job at the time, so I had to use benefits, which most of the money went towards paying keep. Anyway, around a month ago, I finally got a job, and I'm making a decent amount of money, but then my parents started asking for more money, around £200 a month, and they'd do everything. I wasn't entirely comfortable with this, because it was a big jump in money that we agreed on, so we talked to kept it at what I was paying them now. Fast forward a couple of weeks, and I wake up to my mom saying that she and my stepdad sat down and had a talk without me last night about the fact that apparently I'm not keeping up my part of the deal, which was doing washing, keeping room tidy, etc. Context: I share a room with my two sisters, so it does get messy, and we had a deal to only tidy our parts, which I have been doing, and our dog destroyed our sponge, so we don't have anything to wash dishes with RN. Anyway, my mum hands me a list saying that I'm paying £150 a month, but every year I'm here on my birthday it goes up £50, which I found a little weird. But okay, sure, she only said on this list that she would 2 loads of my washing, which I'm fine with. Now on the other side is where I find things frustrating. This side was things expected of me. The list had things like if I order myself food, not to eat in front of my younger brother, unless I get him something too. No putting my feet up on the couch, no lying down on the couch, and no covers downstairs. I also have to ask if I want to use the TV in the living room, because my keep doesn't go towards the TV. I guess these rules frustrated me because they're so nitpicking. I told my mum this, and she got mad, but I also wasn't happy that they had this conversation behind my back. I am the asshole for not being happy with what I'm expected to do. I think probably not the asshole, but for the love of everything that's good in the world, go and buy a new sponge. Claiming that the dog is the reason you can't do the washing up is the weakest excuse I've ever heard. I'd be wanting you to move out too. The £50 per annum increase is to encourage you to find a place of your own. Your parents are trying to get you to make a decision about your future. You can take the first step by buying a sponge. They want you to move out. They don't want you to be comfortable living there. It's pretty obvious that space is tight given you share a room with 2 sisters. They don't want your money. They want you to leave. Personally, I find this whole idea of charging your children rent at 18 ridiculous. They're not in stable employment, still finding their way around the new world of adulthood. They need parental support, and even if you are struggling and need help in paying bills, then have an open conversation as a family and discuss what is manageable for all concerned and move forward together. I feel this situation and these petty rules about watching the TV and not eating takeaway in front of the brother ludicrous. How about teaching the younger brother not to be so entitled? This seems like a one-way ticket to no contact in later life. It kind of sounds like they want you to move out, but they don't want to tell you to move out. It reminds me of people who try to get their boyfriend or girlfriend to dump them, so they don't have to be the bad guy. Not the asshole for disliking it. It is a lot of rules, and the food in front of the little brother and asking to use the TV thing is really weird. But unfortunately, there really isn't anything you can do about it by instituting a fee to continue living with them. They've made it clear you are now a tenant, and they are your landlords, rather than your relationship being daughter and parents. Under that relationship, you don't really have any recourse. I'd move out as soon as possible. They're sending you a message that you are no longer welcome, so you should listen to the message. And when you move out, they can scratch their heads as to why you don't call them much. Am I the asshole for buying my niece period panties? My 30s brother-in-law is separated from his kid's mother, and last week they came into town to spend the weekend with us. Whenever they're in town, my husband and I usually let them spend the night at our house, so they can spend time with our kids. While they were here, my niece, 11, got her period. I use a menstrual cup, so I didn't have any pads at all. When I asked her what kind her mom buys for her, she didn't really know and said that she doesn't like pads because they feel weird and slide back sometimes, and she ends up leaking on her pants. I told her that I had that issue a lot when I was her age and agreed that pads are sometimes really inconvenient. I asked if she wanted to try something different, and she said yes. I told her that I thought she was a little young for tampons or a cup, but I suggested period panties. I've never personally used them, but my best friend does and swears by them. We called her and got advice on the best kind to get, and everything like that. I took her to Target and got her a few pair. Later in the week my brother-in-law called me and my husband and told us that his ex was really mad that I bought the panties for my niece. He said that she said I had no right to do that, and that it's weird that I would buy panties for her daughter. I explained that I was just trying to help, and while he understands and doesn't think I did anything wrong, his ex is now saying that the kids can't come to my house anymore. You didn't do anything wrong, you handled a sensitive situation with care, and helped your niece when she needed it. Her mom is overreacting, but it's best to let your brother-in-law smooth things over with her. Not the asshole. You were the dream of any teenager who just got their period. I remember how overwhelming it could be, and how uncomfy pads and tampons were to me at that age. You were an amazing and safe person to your niece. The ex sounds bitter, and I honestly don't understand why she's upset with someone for being nice to her child. Maybe she's unconsciously upset that you took better care of her child than she managed herself. I hope you can find a way to reconcile, so the kids can still stay over at your place when they're in town. Definitely not the asshole. You did the right thing. The mom sounds toxic, and like she actively looks for drama. If someone did this for my daughter, I'd thank them for caring about her and helping her out. Some people. SMH. Were you supposed to make her free bleed all weekend instead? Not the asshole, but there is no such thing as too young for tampons or a period cup. I started using mine at that age, and still do to this day. Grimacing face, don't know why it's still such a taboo. You helped your niece out. The mom is overreacting. Am I the asshole for freaking out that my brother stole my console just because he fixed it? Okay, I'm 15 and this whole thing is seriously messed up. This Xbox Series S was my property, left directly to me by my dad when he passed away 3 years ago. My parents were divorced, so this was never my mom's item. She had no authority to reassign it. A couple weeks ago, I accidentally broke the HDMI port. Since I don't have a job, I was planning to wait until the holidays to save up for the repair myself. Instead, my mom went behind my back and told my 17-year-old brother he could take my console and keep it if he covered the repair cost. She acted like it was a completely fair trade. The issue is that my brother has a job and makes decent money. He has no major expenses and could easily afford to buy a brand new Series S right now. But he chose to grab my sentimental, inherited console, fix it for maybe $150, and claim it as his own property, exploiting my temporary broke status. When I owned the Xbox, I always let him play. Now that he's seized it, he won't let me use it at all. I've told him I will pay him back every penny he spent on the repair, but he's refusing to give it back and acting like he bought it fair and square. Am I crazy for being furious? Because this feels like a total violation and straight-up theft of an item I cherish. Am I the asshole for demanding he hand it back immediately? Not the asshole. Your mother had no right to your console. She couldn't give it to your brother when she didn't own it. It is a theft orchestrated by your mother and brother. Not the asshole. In 3 years, we will see your mom posting, telling us how unfair it is that you went and see for no reason at all, how she was the perfect mother, and how you blew everything out of proportion and shouldn't dwell on the past, etc. And she'll deserve the NC. Parents do this kind of shit, and then wonder why children go no contact after they move out. Not the asshole. I would damage it while no one was looking, but I'm petty like that. No, and this is outrageous. Your mother straight up had zero right to touch your property, let alone reassign it to your brother. You're 100% not the asshole. Is there any other family member, grandparent, aunt or uncle, who could back you up here? So sorry you're going through this. I lost my dad when I was a teenager as well. I can tell you without question that if my mom had done to me what yours did to you, especially with something that was left to me by my dad, I would have caused a life to be miserable in that house until I was 18. Then I would have told her that she not only lost a husband, but a son. You have every right to feel betrayed and stolen from. That's exactly what your mother did to you. Tell her to enjoy her favorite son, since he's the only one she has left. I am so angry for you. Am I the asshole for being frustrated with my wife about entitlement? Iradit. I am a long-time reader, but first-time poster. This is going to be a longish one, but I need to get your opinion on this situation. Recently, my family, my mom and dad, my sister and her boyfriend, my wife, our child, and myself, went on a family vacation that we all planned and split the cost of the house we found evenly amongst the 3 different households. I am the one that paid for my family's portion of the trip. My wife did not make any comments to me about how she felt prior to the vacation, nor for about a month after the vacation. Well, yesterday she randomly came up to me and told me that she was talking to other people, and that she thought that it was weird we split the cost evenly, and she felt as though my parents should have paid for everyone else to go. She then stated that she wouldn't have gone to her family vacations if they weren't paid, for which I thought was a little weird. I then explained to her that I felt as though since we had a mortgage and a child, that it is only fair for us to put in our part, and I wasn't going to expect my parents to pay for a vacation that we all planned. For context, my parents are well off, but they are not rich. They have paid for 2 houses on our vacations twice before this, and never asked for any compensation. But after this past trip, my mom stated that they couldn't afford to pay so much, and that it would be really helpful if we could all put in, which my sister and I happily agreed to do to keep our family vacations going. My wife knew this. However, my wife grew up with yearly beach trips with her family that were fully paid for by her grandfather, so I'm not sure if that's why she feels this way enough to ask other people. Oh, I'm not sure if this helps context, but I am a black female, and my wife is a white female. So it could also be the way that we were raised, or maybe a cultural thing as well. I am just not sure, so that's why I decided to post on Reddit to see if I'm crazy, or if I normalized something that others haven't. Sue, sorry for the long post, but my question is, am I the a-hole for feeling as though this is an entitled way to think, or is this normal in other households? Your wife is an adult. If she wants to go on vacation, she should pay for it herself. She's not 12 years old. As someone who grew up in poverty, you're not the asshole. I know, man, that's some serious out-of-touch entitlement if she can't wrap her head around the fact that her grandfather's finances are not everyone else's, to the point she's asking other people for their input on someone else's ability to pay for her. That's whack. She was one of the privileged few, and she would do well to remember that. I come from a family that was lucky if we had 3 meals that day. Vacation. What's that? We didn't have those. Not the asshole. I don't think this is a race thing. I think your wife just grew up with privilege and doesn't understand that not everyone can afford to what her family does. To put it bluntly, she's spoiled. She needs to understand that 2 adults who can afford to pay for a vacation should not automatically expect someone else to pay. Not the asshole. That's spoiled kid behavior for an adult for sure. That's pretty damn entitled for your wife to think that your parents should have to pay for her vacation. If your parents can afford it, then paying would be a nice gesture. But it shouldn't be a given. Not the asshole. Different families have different norms, but once your mom said, we can't cover it anymore, let's split, that's the expectation. Your wife grew up with a grandparent footing the bill, so her frame is host pays. But that doesn't make your parents the default ATM, especially after they already covered past trips. It's also not fair to bring this up a month later after enjoying the vacation. I'd frame it as, we're happy to join family trips when costs are shared. If someone offers to host, cool, but we won't assume it. For future invites, send a clear, we're in if the split is $X, otherwise we'll sit this one out. That sets a boundary without turning it into a values fight.